Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message at the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi-Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell, joined by 4 people this week. For the first time in God knows how many months, I've got 4 people in the podcast here. So I've got Vrail, I've got Dom, returning from last week. Q is here again. And I want everyone to give a big old welcome to Impact, who's joining us this week. He waved for the podcast listeners.
I appreciate that, because I was like, oh, which one's which? I wasn't here with the new guy.
Q's the one with glasses and has the poro. Impact is the other one. There you go.
Yeah, I'm the short Asian guy.
So yeah, we're still doing that. If you let me restart this. If you submitted an application for being a podcast host, we are still going through those and still bringing people on. We are going to be bringing on, I think, 2 other people on top of Moon and who else is there, because of course Dom's not here every single week, and he obviously will sit out if we're full as well. Other than that, you will receive an email whether you passed or we just don't need you. I don't know how to say it without being polite. I have to sit down and think about how to type a polite reply out rather than just do it off the top of my head. So I apologize if I'm not polite right now.
If this is paying work, I'll do it. I just don't do shit for free for you anymore.
God damn it, Dom! Can you do something for free? Can I have an email?
You have to gift him Hextech Alley and you'll have him forever.
Yeah, you give me that and you got me for a while.
I already tried.
Comes out.
No.
Hextech probably does come out. It looks cool. I'm not spending my gemstones on it though.
So there's that. Guys, don't forget to check out our sponsors over at Buddha Boxers, buddhaboxers.com/tforce. Use code TrinityForce for 20% off your order. They're premium, high-quality, inexpensive boxers made from bamboo. They're made that way to help wick away the sweat, which leaves you feeling fresh. Compared to other brands, none of them will keep you as comfy as Buddha Boxers, and I can attest to this. I'm wearing a pair right now. Super comfortable. I love it. I go out of my way to make sure that I have Buddha Boxers to wear in the week. Like, I think Vrail was like, I wear Hanes. I just can't do it anymore. Dude, I wear the non-premium underwear. It just doesn't sit right.
Yeah, once you go bamboo, you can't really go back, huh?
That's right. Just ask the panda bears. Other than that, guys, if you have questions, feedback at trinityforcepodcast.com. Shoot them to us. We've got lots of listener questions, but I have some stuff that I want to talk about tonight, and I'm going to jump down to point D here because I want to start with Aatrox because he seems to be the talk of the town recently, and I really want to talk. I really want to talk to you guys' experience playing with him, how we think he's going to be playing. I'm going to make Vrail. I'm going to put him on the spot to start with this one because he's been playing a lot of bottom lane Aatrox lately.
Don't say a lot. I played it twice.
You've played it more than that. You've played at least 3 or 4 times with me.
No, I haven't. I played it twice bot lane, twice.
I was your support both times.
And once top. I would not recommend playing in bot lane. That didn't go so great. Top.
We crushed it, and then the rest of the map fell apart.
Oh, let's not point fingers now. I'm pretty sure some of these people are in the game.
Oh shit.
I think of the 3 roles I played, top for sure felt the best because I feel like the strength of Aatrox is his early game. So a lot of people are taking comment on him because his Q is really good at landing it. It's kind of like the same thinking with taking comment on Camille, where her W, you just poke really easily with it. So my experience has been top is really the best because his first few levels with Q, his Q does so much damage that you want to be like laning versus someone, and that's kind of wasted if you're in the jungle where you're just clearing camps. So the strength of Aatrox is if you get ahead early game, you kind of need to, it's kind of like Pantheon, you need to win while you're ahead and not let the other team catch up because he's not that great if you're going even. In my experience, again, I'm not an Aatrox expert, but for sure top lane's the best. Build and Bruiser, I've been going like Black Cleaver and stuff. He's a lot of fun. I think he's really strong because his early game is so oppressive, but y'all can share your opinions as well. I think Impact has been playing him a few times as well.
Yeah, I've played quite a bit of Aatrox. I've tried out the Comet rune as well, and that works really well because if, like Vrail said, if you land like the end of your queue, you automatically get the Comet proc for free. I think electrocute might also be an option, but if you do that, you're kind of going a more like all-in focus rather than a poke him down focus. But I've tried him top lane, and I've also played him a lot mid, going kind of a more aggressive build. First item, Ghostblade into Death Dance, and you just deal a ton of damage with the electrocute proc. You can almost all in anybody you want to level 3 once you have all your stuff.
Okay, so Rail, I have a question. If
Go
I'm
for it.
jungling and I'm levels 1 through 5 and I have an Aatrox top, do I want to gank that?
Aatrox top, I would say probably, especially if you have CC, because once you CC them and you confirm one hit of Aatrox's Q, it gets a lot, especially if he doesn't have to use a dash, it gets a lot easier to chain all the knockups together. So if your jungler can lock him down for the first Q and then Aatrox has a second 2 dashes to move around his other Qs, he can just dish out a ton of damage with a lot of guaranteeing a lot more if you already have him locked down. So I would say yes if you have CC.
And if you're ganking and you have the CC, that means like even if they blow flash, like Aatrox can still hit him with the W, which will pull him back in.
Yeah, if you're running away from Aatrox W, you kind of have to go to the side. If you try, unless you have a lot of movement speed, or a dash, if you just run away from it, you're gonna get pulled all the way back. So you kind of want to go to the side just so you don't get yanked back, because it's a lot shorter distance to get out of the like rectangle shape that it is.
Right, but then then you're in a lot of trouble because now you're not running away from the fucking gank. So
yeah, it's not, just try and dodge it if you can, and staying behind minions block it. So ideally, just stay behind your minions and it'll hit it on that. But it's best just to get out of the square before it pulls you back, even if that is taking a less than ideal route to get away from people.
Yeah, once it pulls you back, you're pretty much probably dead, unless you like have a summoner to get out. But you should have used it already if you did.
Yeah, because if Aatrox is able to land his W and pull someone back without using either of his dashes, then he can confirm his first Q knockup, and then he has both dashes to move around and hit his second 2 knockups. So then you're in a world of hurt. It's like really hard to play against him.
Riot has gotten really creative with their pull abilities lately. I like how that W works. You know, you throw a spot, and then if you hit it, then after a delay, there's a pull. You know, Kled's pull is pretty cool because you hit him, he's got to stay within the range before the pull happens. Pike's is pretty cool with the charge up and, you know, all that stuff. Like, they're getting a lot more interesting than the Blitzcrank Nautilus types we've had for so long.
I got Swain pulled in mid lane after a huge delay. I was like, oh, forgot how nutty that is.
This is my number one. If you have a mid lane Swain, gank for that dude.
It's crazy.
It's the best gank assist of anybody.
I've been wondering about him because we had that discussion about Death Dance and Black Cleaver, and isn't Aatrox more of like you have to land his abilities to do any kind of damage? I mean, I'm sure you're weaving autos in when you can, but really, isn't it landing his 3 Qs is what's going to kill you?
So
yeah,
go ahead.
Go for it, bro.
Okay, so I've talked to a few top laners, and what's so frustrating about playing against him early game, if you're another melee, is that even if he misses his first 2 Qs and you're trying to trade with him, since his last Q, which does the most damage, is like right on top of himself, it's like impossible to trade with him. Even if he misses those, he still lands the third one. It's like really hard to win that trade, which is what makes him so abusable top and so hard to like lane against the first little bit of the game. So it's not necessary you have to hit all of them, especially if you're against a melee. Just hitting the third one can make you win a lot of trades.
Yeah, he's much more of an AD caster now, where old Aatrox I feel like was more auto attack based. Like you're really not autoing a whole bunch, which is why like you can't go Rageblade anymore on him. Where you want to be able to hit your Qs. Generally, if you're so Aatrox's passive is it does a percent of their max health on an auto attack, and minions do consume this. But if you don't have this up, when you land your Qs and specifically the end of the Qs, it takes away the cooldown on that. So generally by the end of the trade, you're going to have that up to proc it at the end when you hit your third Q. So he's definitely much more of an AD caster rather than auto attack base, which is why they gave his like auto attack increased damage from his passive, because you're not using it as much.
So with that said, that's what the problem with Aatrox is. I understand that people are figuring him out. Like if I check out UGG right now, u.gg, his win rate was 43% release, and now it's up to 48.26% in the top lane. But people look like they're still running Conqueror or Precision Resolve on him rather than some type of Grasp or Comment. And I mean, I don't know if it's the plus people that aren't figuring this out or what's going on, or is it just that everyone is defaulting to Conqueror? I'm just trying to figure out why his win rate's so low. When every time I see him, he seems to be getting better and better with each day that goes on.
How far back does the data stretch here?
I believe from the beginning of the patch. I'm pretty sure they re-aggregate the day of the new patch.
I mean, so that's going to be part of the influence, but
I didn't. I should email.
Well, I don't think Conqueror's ever the rune to go on him. Maybe Aftershock would be another alternative. Because if you think about his trading pattern, if you land the first Q, you're going to hit the second Q, and then you're maybe autoing then. But if you're hitting the end of your Qs, you're not going to be in range to auto anyway, so you won't proc Conqueror until the trade is almost over. So that one doesn't really make sense. It makes a lot more sense to go something like maybe Electrocute or Comet or Aftershock, where you're getting the procs a lot easier. But Conqueror, it's not going to be till the very end of the trade, especially in lane, that you're actually going to make use of that keystone.
So with that said, that makes Grasp. With that said, it means Grasp can't be that good on him, right? Since you're not really auto attacking.
Well, Grasp could still be good, because if you start a trade and you don't have your Grasp built up, by the time you're autoing, you'll probably have Grasp up, and that will kind of have the same effect. But okay. Conqueror you want for the whole trade if you can.
Yeah, you want to start with Conquer rather than end with it.
You're going to steal the same amount of life regardless of when you proc Grasp, so I think that could still be an option.
I mean, I'm just interested. I haven't played the champion yet, and I've only really seen you play him, Real.
Yeah, I don't play him very well.
I just know if I played Aatrox, I'm gonna miss every Q that there ever was, even the one that's right on top of me. Like I'm gonna Q someplace else, and so I just kind of stay away from that champion.
He feels a lot easier the earlier in the game. The longer the game goes, it seems like you're kind of tanky and you're hard to kill, but it's hard to do meaningful damage, especially in team fights, unless you have flash up.
He's got that valley shape where he's really good early and then he's bad once you kind of get to the mid game, and then he's then once you really get rolling with all the items and that type of stuff, you're back to being really, really good. And part of it's just because, hey, you're coming back to life after you die, and that's just really powerful. But
oh my gosh, I think the fact that he can move during his resurrection thing is so stupid.
I love it.
It's so tilting to me.
Yeah, it's really annoying if he.
Go ahead.
It's really annoying if he has dashes up too, because then he's moving while he's dead, and then he can dash over a wall, and then he can flash, or he can dash again. It's tricky to catch him once he revives.
Yeah, I died once to an Aatrox where he was under turret, and he didn't have very much of his undead, how much health he gets back. So another tower shot would have killed him if he had just had to revive under turret. But he just walked out of turret, and then I died, and he didn't. It was real sad.
Are there any counters or team comps that Aatrox isn't working into right now? I should say champions or team comps.
I think Fiora's okay into him. Because early levels, his Q, you only have 2 seconds to recast Q in between casts. So if Fiora hits her W and riposte Aatrox's first Q, I think the stun is long enough it puts his Q on cooldown. So then he can't finish his Q cast, and she can go in for a trade. But I think that's one of the ones that's pretty good into him.
Yeah, I would think people with dashes would be good. So maybe Aurelia could be okay.
Yeah, I mean, Fiora, Yasuo, Camille, Aurelia, I think are the big four.
I think Fiora would be really good, because maybe if you don't have you don't want to use your post early, you can still dash and dodge the Qs, because the first one's pretty easy to dodge, and the second one you can get inside of it, and then the third one you can just riposte it because it'll be right on top of you, and then you get a lot of damage off. So I think Fiora is kind of a natural, where their kits clash enough where she's might be the classic counter pick to him, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, any other? I'd add more to the conversation, but honestly, I've only played with you with him, and I still. It's one of those champions that if you don't play him or you don't read a ton with him, it's really hard to understand what exactly he's doing. Because
I mean, he's also one of those champions where you go into one bot game and play him, and suddenly he makes a lot more sense. It's not difficult.
Yeah.
But the way his abilities are there's so much going on with them that reading it without, the firsthand experience makes it pretty challenging. But like you go into one bot game if you own Aatrox or wait till he's free and you're gonna pick up what he's doing pretty quick.
Yeah, once you learn the ranges on his Qs to hit the knockup, I think you'll have a lot more success. I think that's where the biggest learning curve is just being able to gauge those radiuses.
Oh, I already like it better. When I first saw his kit, I liked it better than his, I guess, previous kit.
I think they hot fixed him, which might have been a little premature because I think they hot fixed him before anyone really had a chance to play him.
Yeah, it was so
And I might
fast.
be regretting that.
It's like hours after he was released, they hot fixed him. It's like, come on, man, let us lose with him a little bit before he
So I go back and forth on that. On the one hand, I agree with all of you, and on the other, if a champion loses too much within the first couple days, people lose interest so quickly that they will never spend the time to figure out that he's good. So they have to really and I don't even mean this, they have to maintain a very, very delicate balance of champion is appealing to play despite being new, and champion is not just super abusively overpowered.
I kind of feel like that's what happened with Aurelion Sol when he got released.
It happened with Ornn. It happens all the time.
Yeah, Aurelion Sol, he just wasn't that enticing to play because he was just so unique and different from everyone else. A lot of other skills weren't transferring, so he just wasn't picked up.
The other thing that's helping here that wasn't available for Aurelion Sol or Xerath is the one that really stands out to me. Pro play was happening. We had a whole bunch of pro play right after Aatrox came out and everything. The Rift Rivals patch was with the new Aatrox. And just seeing him in professional play did a whole lot to generate interest and sort of just teach people hey, this is how I play that champion. That's what I'm supposed to do. I shouldn't be buying Rage Blaze, even though that's the item that Aatrox has always purchased. That really ends up going a long way. And I know not everybody watches professional play, but even just a small percentage of players understanding what the champion does and how you're supposed to play it ends up doing a lot of long-term good for a champion.
Wait.
Yeah, I think so.
People are building Rage Blade on the new.
Oh yeah, yeah. People are still taking Alacrity.
Right, I saw that. Right,
and it's just
everything.
And part of it's just habit, and the other part is people are not paying attention to what new kits are actually doing.
Yeah, and if you know he's a bruiser, and I'd probably say 85% of bruisers generally go some sort of precision rune. And so if it's your first time playing him and you don't understand how his kit synergizes, then I could understand why somebody who hadn't played him before would go that route. But once you play him, it's pretty easy to realize that's not the way to go.
Well, hopefully everyone listening to this podcast now doesn't walk out there and pick the wrong runes. There's actually a pretty good post on our Summoner School right now with a good rundown of Aatrox. So if you're looking to learn a bit more about him or what he should be building, I definitely recommend go checking that out. I can link that in chat right now, as well as I'll put it. It should be in the description of the podcast if you're listening via iPhone or whatever. But I think that's fine for Aatrox for this time around, because I do want to talk. Hell, I'm going to work backwards in this document because I kind of like the discussion points the other way around. We kind of talk a lot about non-traditional lanes and how those are slowly taking over League. Yet at the same time, I think a lot of people are seeing the traditional lanes still. And I guess the question I'm going to pose to everybody else, something I want to talk about, is there a reason we should be playing Marksman right now? Why or why not? And what are the advantages of actually having a Marksman on your team as opposed to a non-traditional lane? And I'll go ahead and start here with this just to help you guys out. Because I was thinking about it. This question popped up when I was playing last night. I played J4 Pike into a Lowy Teemo last night. And had I played a traditional Marksman into a Lowy Teemo, I kind of feel like I would have been under tower the entire time. But thanks to the power spike, the level 2 power spike of Pike J4, we're able to start, slowly moving that lane around. And then, of course, we can allow then at that same time, we can allow the Pike to roam the map or the J4 to roam the map. They don't have to sit in that lane anymore to get farmed because we spike, hell, J4 can spike at a longsword, for example. That's just like top lane. You get one item, you've spiked. And so getting that first kill allows you to pick up either Doran's or a longsword or whatever it is, and you're spiked, now you move around the map. And I think with really good map presence and a meta awareness, the game has shifted to the point that roaming and not sitting in lane all the time is actually better than it is to sit there and farm until late game with a marksman or whatever it may be. So I'm leaving the discussion more open to how you guys are perceiving the current meta of the game and if marksman should be played.
Sure, what I would do, if I were playing AD carry right now as a main, like I used to, I would go into the game and be completely dependent on the comps. So if I have a team that can actually carry me to late game, I'll play that Lucian, Kai'Sa, Jhin maybe. But if I don't have that, and it's a bunch of early game stuff, there's really no point. You're going to have a bad, 25, 30-minute game where you just get owned and you're behind the whole time, and then you don't scale in the end, and it's really unfortunate.
You have to really, really pay attention to what your opponent comp is.
Yeah.
It's for so long, we got so used to the idea that there are soft matchups and everything out of bot lane, but the reality is that a 2v2, you always could kind of play around certain things and make a lot of assumptions. And now it's a lot more ideal to be picking your AD carry or I should say your duo lane champion late in the draft than it used to be when you could pick earlier or whenever. Because if you're picking an AD carry, you're basically saying, hey, we know we're going to struggle early on, and we're playing for late game because we know we're going to siege a lot better just by virtue of having this heavy sustained range damage coming out. And so you have to start you have to prepare to make a few concessions, especially if you're up against a kind of a heavier bruiser lane or some type of kill lane in general. And that's okay. It's not fundamentally bad. You just have to go in with the mindset that you're not going to win lane just by being, better skilled anymore. It's now you have to sort of prepare for the enemy team to do shit that's going to make your life miserable.
You have to really, I have to really pay attention to the composition and your win condition. A lot of players will just pick a champion, not even look at their team comp, and then get frustrated when they lose because they're not even looking at how to win the game. They're like, well, I got beat in lane, so I got tilted, and we lost. And it's well, what was your win condition the entire game? Did you even have one? Did you lose in champ select? What happened? And that's one really important thing to think about.
Well, if you're accustomed to playing marksman, I don't think you should just abandon them just because bruisers are better. If you have a level of comfort with marksman that you don't have with bruisers, then going into the game, even if it might be statistically a worse matchup to go on marksman, I don't think you should just abandon that course just because this is what a lot of people are doing. Because it's not like there's bruisers every single game. There are still a lot of marksmen getting played. Just for that very reason, is everyone doesn't know how to play bruisers. And people who are new to bruisers, if you get laned against them, you can really mess up bruisers early if they don't play their ranges correctly. So if you're have been playing Jhin, you've been playing Draven, these people who can really be aggressive early, then you can win a lane against bruisers just if they don't have good spacing, because they're always going to be in auto range, and especially if they're not experienced in how to play that matchup, then it can be really hard to play a bruiser into a ranged carry. So I don't think you should just abandon the whole marksman just because all the pros are playing bruisers or AP casters, all this stuff. If it's your level, if you have comfort there, I still think it's fine to go that route.
I mean, and to me, the only marksmen you really should be shying away from right now are Varus, Ezreal, and Tristana. I mean, and I guess that always applied to Callista, and she's not performing especially well right now. But if you're a proficient Callista player, now is probably a pretty good time to play her. Otherwise, I just feel like most people don't know how to play her that well, and that's why she struggles.
Wouldn't
she's
Caitlyn
hard
be
to
on
play.
that list?
What was that, Adam?
Yeah, I would say Caitlyn's on that list as well.
I don't know. She's I feel like she's pretty close. You just need a little bit. You need more time with her and everything. But that's kind of AD carries in general. But I think
that's
if you're a good Caitlyn player, I don't think that's a good. I don't think her struggling is a good enough reason to abandon her at this point.
See, I disagree.
Varus in general is just in a bad spot. No matter how good you are on him, Varus is just in a really rough spot right now. And Ezreal has gotten nerfed after nerf after nerf at this point and everything. That's you can be really good, but Ezreal is you're going to have to work extra hard to perform on Ezreal.
I mean, by saying that though, like Caitlyn is sitting at this just about the same win rate as Varus and Ezreal are as well.
No, she's a full 2% higher than Varus.
She's 46.81% right now.
I see her at 47.8.
I am,
and I see Varus at 46.5.
Are you using Analytics?
I'm looking up. I'm using Analytics because they show the last 7 days, and we had the hot fix a while ago that hit the Marksman items. Or no, that would have been in the last patch. So I'm still just looking at the last 7 days.
I see. I don't really care about the last 7 days. I'd rather see the overall what's going on. But that's a topic for another day. But still, with Caitlyn, I think with the prevalence of bruisers and tankier champions all around in the other lanes or heavier damage champions, she's always fared really poorly against heavy bruisers. And sure, you can poke out the bruiser in your lane, but if a fighter or a bruiser in the other lane is getting ahead, Caitlyn does not have the same type of power spike she previously did through Stormrazor, that she's going to be able to bully those people out as well. That's why she's not doing as hot globally for the entire patch rate, because she can't transition the lead that she got out of bottom lane into taking anything else, because she can't do damage to anybody else because they're higher level and have more armor and whatnot than your traditional 2v2.
Well, that's fine. We can throw Caitlyn into that conversation and everything, but that's still a really small pool of marksmen who are not performing well. And we're just used to this idea that you can pick any marksman and perform well. And right now, maybe you have to be a bit more attentive to things. And so, yeah, it sucks if you were a Caitlyn main and now you suddenly can't play her and everything. But you know what? There are a lot of other AD carries, and AD carry skills translate really well from champion to champion.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's not like if you main a champion mid lane, it can be hard to find something that, if your champion really sucks, that can really fit the same style of play that you want. But at 80 carries, if you can right click on something, you can right click on something. So it's not that different in between different champions. In that role especially, I think it's the most
you have like Draven at one end of the spectrum and Ezreal at the other end, and everyone in between, like every other champion sort of fits somewhere in between all that, and they're really not that different from one another, in the grand scheme there.
If we've learned anything from this patch, it's that, or if you're learning, I should say, if you are learning anything from this patch as a marksman main, this is like the couple patches to learn spacing in and of itself for yourself as a marksman, and how to properly trade, because this patch, above all else, is going to teach you how to poke somebody and get CS for almost free, basically. Because if you've got a Garen in the bottom lane, that Garen can't get to you unless he's running at you. So you should be able to stand there. We'll just use Caitlyn, for example, because she's got the longest range, and just poke the fuck out of that Garen until he's out of the lane. I understand that you're not seeing that matchup down there, but you guys get the idea what I'm saying. Lucian can do the same thing. Kai'Sa can do the same thing. Basically, you should be... This should be giving you that piece that you may have been missing. I'm poking them when they're going for CS piece that everybody seems to forget when they're in low elo.
And it's definitely tricky, because while these are like no-brainer things if you're in a solo lane, in the duo lane you have to worry about what a support is going to do. And it's very, very different set of circumstances if they have Thresh and you have Nami. Like you're doing very, very different things. And if they engage on you, you're responding in a different way, and you can't engage on them the same way you might be inclined to, so you really have to pay attention to, I guess, the totality of the circumstances, as opposed to just like a lot of assumptions you might have had going into things.
I think supports can also play a big part in whether or not you can get away with a marksman bot lane. Because, I mean, like Xayah Rakan, that combo is still really, really good.
Sure.
They have a lot of bowling potential. But I think like supports like Brand, they do like quite a bit of damage. Like Brand, Zyra, like they can help your AD carry still like hold their own in that lane, because they're going to be prevalent on damage, even if the AD carry still needs time to scale. And there are also like supports that like can kind of like peel really well. Like Fiddlesticks, he's like really in meta right now because he's so good into bruisers. Like lots of bruisers just want to go in, and he has a point and click 2-second fear at max rank. Like that can ruin a bruiser's day. And like there are ways to play around bruisers if you do want to play a standard AD carry. So I think there are ways to get away with it. You don't have to play the bruisers.
No, absolutely, yes you do. Don't if you're not playing bruisers, you're doing it wrong. If you're not playing bruisers in the mid lane, you're playing Malzahar, you should get kicked out of the game as well.
No.
I'm just trying to make Q talk because all he's doing is throwing kappas into the chat and just listening to the conversation.
And he's nodding his head a lot.
Well, this leads me to the other topic that I want to talk about tonight is roaming. And you guys can tell me if I'm right or wrong here. Or we can have try to have a conversation around it. But I really do feel like the game has evolved to the point where team fighting is no longer advantageous unless it's around an objective. Like sieging a tower and then trying to team fight around that tower is a waste of your time, in my opinion. I really do think like the 1-3-1 or the 1-4 or whatever it may be. Hell, you can do 2-3 if you want. Is better than just grouping as 5 and trying to drive down objective. If I say more often than not, I mean like 51-52% of the time. I'm not talking like 60-70%. Going back to the games of playing like, again, J4 in the bottom lane, I would rather my Pike that I was playing with get me a kill early and then just roam the fuck around the map the entire game the rest of the time, and we just do this roaming gank squad instead of sitting down there and trying to trade with whatever's down there. And I feel like that just allows you to do more with the game and actually close out games or get earlier surrenders.
Dom did that on Alistar last night. It was a really good example.
I've been doing it a lot.
I got ahead. I think I was 4-1 in lane, and then Dom just left me and kind of took over the map. I think you ended like some amount of kills, 0 and 20 something assists. You like kind of took over the whole map just because we got a head bot, and I could stay relatively safe by myself, even though I died a few times. But that's neither here nor there. And then you just you took over the map. So that I think roaming is important. Has team fighting ever been advantageous if it's not around an objective, or does it just happen less now because everyone's playing split pushers? I think it might just happen less.
I think there are so many fighters in a given game right now. Like, the odds are good. You have a fighter out of top lane. You have a fighter out of the jungle. You might have a fighter or like a high damage mage out of bot lane. I think there's just a very minimal amount of engage in any given game, because it's not like supports can just pick Alistar every single game because, hey, there you go, you got the go button. Sometimes Tom Kench is the correct decision. Sometimes, it's Thresh. And so it's a lot more like pick comps and that type of thing. And pick comps don't do nearly as well with team fights. They're all about like finding the one straggler and then pushing your advantage as a result of that. So I think it's just like lack of engage overall in most games is sort of what's made this a less team fight focused meta.
I think a lot of the objectives you're gaining like throughout the game are from small skirmishes now. Like there are a lot more 2 versus 2s throughout the map or 3 versus 3s rather than full on 5v5s. And I think that's because kind of like you guys are saying, like there's no way to fully hard engage. And because bruisers do a lot of damage to one specific target rather than we can have people like, well, I guess not all bruisers, but you can have people like when AD carries are popular, they can pump up damage to everybody that's in range of them like over time. And I think part of the reason why team fights aren't as prevalent is just there's a lack of tanks overall. Like bruisers are everywhere rather than I rarely see like a Maokai top or even an Ornn top, and Ornn's pretty good right now still.
Yeah, there's so much less structure to team fights basically.
Yeah.
Every team fight's kind of a fiesta when everyone kind of fills the same role in the team fight instead of like fighting front to back tanks, supports, get to the AD carry maybe. It's just everyone, it's like a Royal Rumble or something. Everyone's just fighting each other.
I just realized, everyone, that Riot finally successfully got Dominion rolling. It's a bunch of skirmishes. It's a bunch of running around to all different places of the map.
They did
They're
it.
really having a full 5-on-5 team fight, except for maybe at one spot here or there. Like they finally got Dominion balanced and in full operation. Everybody's playing it now.
I swear, I was fighting over Scuttle. I fight over Scuttle more than I fight over any objective now. With like 2 or 3 of us just scrapping over there. There's no 5v5s unless we're diving bot lane or something.
Yeah,
It's nutty.
that still happens a lot.
I love that.
I don't. I really don't.
Spam ping bot on my way, boys. Let's go.
Dude, I'm coming. I'm bringing the heat. The Kane is coming down bot lane with y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and take the tower aggro, and then I'm gonna jump in at the worst moment that I can. This is what I miss though about tower dives bot is that you can no longer do something trolly like that and give it to the AD carry, who would then likely get the next tower aggro and die during it. So you can't troll your own team by dropping tower aggro anymore. Oh well. Anyway, no, I kind of So the whole team fight thing is kind of going out the window, right? Because of the points that you guys had brought before, and I agree with that. It's just that now the skirmishes and team fighting are so uncoordinated and wild that it feels like people went stupid. Malzahar could be ulting one person, the Aatrox could be running after another person, and then the two supports are duking it out in the bush over a ward, and you're all like, this is like fucking herding cats. And I don't get it. I don't know what is going on right now in the community. Is it just that everybody has gone stupid because it's just they don't know what to do? Or is it that I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I think we don't really know how to team fight with 4 bruisers and a mage, like, because we're used to, you know, kind of playing off AD carry and peeling for that and you know, having a structured team fight where things go as planned. Now it's like, well, what? That's exactly right. Like, what is the plan? Like,
I mean,
what...
it's there's no more 3-hit rule.
Yeah, not
when
really.
It comes down to it, I mean, like if you have 3 fighters in there and everything, and they're all swinging at each other, doing whatever, like they're gonna get more than 3 auto attacks off, and we're just sort of not used to that concept.
Fighters
And there's
Go ahead.
like previously, there's like 1 or 2 damage dealers you have to focus to win a team fight. But now when you have you could have a Darius, Vladimir, Camille, a Pike. You could have 5 different damage dealers. And so I think that's one of the reasons why it's so uncoordinated is because who do you focus? If you throw everything on one person, there's going to be 4 other members that are doing equal amounts of damage, and you just blew all your CCs.
And that's
So
exactly why
I think it's just really hard to like coordinate them when there's so many different threats.
like that's why Vladimir, Swain, any of the sustained tank mages are so frustrating because you'll blow all your spells on them, and then you did nothing. Thanks. Like, shouldn't have hit that guy, I guess, and then someone has to kill them. You know, like it's so hard.
Yeah.
And part of that is because it's a lot harder to get grievous wounds out of mid lane than it used to be. Whereas everybody in the past always had it because Morellonomicon was just the item that every mage bought. Now, like, you have to go out of your way to get an item that for some champions is not especially appealing. And you're only getting it because you have to get grievous wounds. Whereas, like, Marksman, if you're choosing between Mortal Reminder and
Lord Dominic's
Regards and everything, like, yeah, you're making a little bit of a sacrifice on your armor pin there, but, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal, and you're getting the really valuable grievous wounds. But mages, like, you don't get it until you've completed the item, and you have to spend you have to really go out of your way to get something that you might not even like having.
It's like when I said it last week. It's like when I tried to get Q to pick up Morellos, but I get it now because I played Karthus the other day, and I'm like, I typed Morellos in. I'm like, nah, I'm getting Hat instead. I'm just gonna press R harder because why am I wasting my time with this when with this item when I can just try to do more damage than kill them, essentially.
You just have to get the pen part first, then it feels a lot better. Because if you have the pen, then everything feels like you're doing a little bit more damage. I generally get Morello's second. That's kind of my build path when I'm playing a mage. I'll go Ludens into Morello's. I just think it's pretty good overall. Especially if you get to the sweet spot of having Ludens, pen boots, and the pen item of Morello's, you do a lot of damage at that point.
And I like that strategy because, like, you're kind of just doubling down on the fact that you have a lot of early game power. And so if you can sort of bridge the rest of your team to, through early and mid game, to the point where they're starting to spike really hard and everything, that's a really good approach to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like kind of bouncing back to it being like not as easy. Like I was playing a Rise top game versus a Nasus and
a what?
Like, okay. And
what?
I know I say it incorrectly.
Is this like Needly?
Yeah, it's Needly.
Akalai?
I don't know. I mean, Nasus is an interesting take on the pronunciation. I'll give you that. But your point,
yes.
It's like Rise. I wanted my tier and my Roa, but I had to I had to stop building my tier item in order to rush Morellonomicons because there's no way I was gonna do any damage to this Nasus because he just healed so much because he went first item, Spirit Visage. And so, like going out of my way slowed down my entire build. And it wasn't like I was doing any more damage to him because he had so much magic resist that flat pen just wasn't really effective versus it. But it's like you just had to have it. And so, like, things like that just kind of feel bad now.
Would you guys be okay if there was a an item that built out of an amplifying tome and it just like upgraded into some type of AP item that gave you grievous wounds, similar to how the marksmen have? They buy a longsword and then they can turn that into Executioner's Calling, and then they can sit on that for the rest of the game if they want to, if they need to get that grievous wounds going.
Well, what they could do is they could make the 1,500 gold item give the grievous wounds, and then when you complete it, it gives you the pen.
That would feel
nice. I feel kind of weird because
I think that would feel really bad.
Well, they could maybe make it. I don't know. I guess there isn't really precedent to make it anything but flat pen. But like, if you gave it percent pen, then it might be better. But
just
I don't know. They would have to make basically.
I think that would feel really bad. But it's not like Morellonomicon needs to build out a blasting wand because blasting wand is otherwise not being used. That item is in so many item upgrades, like it's not a big deal. But like adding, Executioner's Calling only builds into the one item, so it's not that, there's precedent for a one item into something else and everything, and then just like having that early grievous wounds if you really need it, because otherwise that Vlad and that Swain matchup, those types of things can get really out of hand really quickly just by virtue of you picking a mage when you shouldn't have.
Yep, but when you only play Malzahar, you get screwed.
Speaking of only playing Malzahar, I really do think you should pick up Karthus. I feel like that's the next champion.
That or Anivia are my options.
Karthus, because
you're tilting me, guys.
Karthus is the best. I think it really, like, I've played with you, a handful of times, right? And you do well with what you're doing. Like, you push the lane, and then you need to roam if you need to. But what's the best thing about Karthus is that all you have to do is press R. I know it's like a meme and all that, but like legitimately, if you coordinate with your bottom lane in this current meta, pressing R gives that extra boost that allows you all you have to do is walk to your tower, press R, and now you're back in the lane. It's awesome.
It was great last night. Hey guys, I got off. Oh, okay. Well, here we go.
I think we did that 3 times, maybe, where you pressed R and we just all in them, and we killed them both.
Yeah, Braille got like 6 double kills because of it.
It's a solid combo.
He's legit.
But you didn't even take Predator. You went freaking. I think you went Airy. What the hell is that?
Yeah. I didn't need Predator. Never one point in that game did I ever need to have Predator.
You don't. No, Predator just makes his ult scale so much harder because it adds like an extra 0.25 AP scaling to his ultimate.
Do you press Predator and then press R, so while Predator's channeling, R is also channeling to get the extra damage?
Yes, that's exactly what you do.
I love it. I need to do that. I never thought about it.
So dumb.
That is so troll. You're not even using it to get the speed.
It's not troll, though. It's like actually good. It just adds damage to the ultimate.
Dude, can I Predator Malzult? Is that a thing?
Yeah, probably.
You could.
Yeah, that'd be good just because you let you get in range without having to flash.
Yeah, what do you need Airy or anything for a comment with him? You really should. I am, after playing a fuckload of Air, I am under the impression that people, if you can't make a very, very, very good use of Comet or Airy early, you should just be going Predator. Like 100% of the time. Like being able to make it back to lane without teleport really quickly was awesome. Just that alone made having Predator worth it for me.
If you're playing Earth and you have a Predator, you don't need to take TP. You can go like Ignite or something. Because you just run everywhere really quickly. Or even Ghost.
Right. And this isn't just Earth. Like, this isn't the real, the real Summoner's Rift games, your 5v5s, having Predator be able to make it back to lane instead of having to take teleport. Because there's a lot of matches like Vagar, for example. He may want to have teleport mid, but now you can pick up Cleanse or Barrier or something because you have Predator to add on top of that.
So just so I'm clear on this Predator-Karthus interaction, what you're saying is that if you have Predator active, everybody who gets hit by his ult takes Predator damage?
I believe that's how it works. They might have changed it. And even if it doesn't matter because just adding that extra it's going to do more than Comet to the one person. So I believe it hits everyone.
Because if it hits everybody, that's fucking broken.
It does hit everybody.
How would it decide? It's at the exact same time.
That's just it. Like there are some abilities that have like a weird, like I think Gangplank's ult or something. If it hits a whole bunch of people, it actually looks at the order on the map, or like basically the order that champions were picked.
I thought Comet decides. I think based on
the lowest
health. The lowest, yeah, but.
Predator, yeah, like there are a lot of different interactions and everything, so that's why I was curious about Predator here.
I'm pretty confident it does. I've never actually looked around to make sure it's hitting everyone, but you're really just going for every game I play Karthus, my goal is to one hit the ADC, so that's who I'm always looking at. And it's a feasible thing you can do if you have Predator. It just adds so much damage late game. It's insane.
Predator's closest proximity.
Well,
Wait, it is? Because the tooltip says like it adds this much damage to the next ability used.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Wait. Look here. All right, I'm on our Karthus mains posted 5 months ago.
That sounds like a terrible subreddit.
Yes, it's exactly like if our Karthus mains is to be believed, it works on everybody.
That's nuts.
Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is insane.
Okay, have to go that.
Y'all thought I was trolling every time I take that on Karthus.
If you can get away with Celerity and Predator.
Yes, you take Celerity,
wow. Yes.
and you stand in Fountain, and then you have the home guards adding your Celerity. No ghost if you're feeling super crazy.
Fuck off, bro.
Yeah,
Stop.
you're
So
level 1.
You're taking cheap shot, and then eyeball collection, and I guess a Ravenous Hunter.
Yes, it's Q.
Or
You should
ultimate
like this.
Hunter,
The whole
not
point
Ravenous,
is to do
ultimate.
nothing in lane and then scale and.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yes,
Tonight. We
just
will-
don't forget to put it on 2.
I won't.
Press
I don't
2
forget.
then R. Apparently, the combined damage for your rank 1 ultimate goes from 250 base to 340 after pressing Predator.
Out of here.
That's crazy.
Fucked up.
With a 1.0 ability power ratio.
That's fucked up.
Hopefully Riot is listening to this.
I love it. I love it.
Well, and that's why like new Karthus is a thing.
Oh,
Because New
jeez.
Blood Boil
sure.
gives
Yeah.
you % AP and movement speed. So like it just builds on Celerity too.
That's gonna be fun for me.
All right, one person here said it procced on the lowest target, but you know what? Regardless, whoever it's being pushed on, if it's actually the lowest target, that's all you really want when it comes down.
Yeah,
to
that's
it
still
anyway.
really valuable.
Sure. We'll
Let's-
test it out.
2 posts from June 10th. We'll see what this says. It does not do damage to all champions. It targets champion's lowest health, assuming the champion doesn't die from the ult damage alone. There, that's what one person
Okay,
said
so then
from
it'll turn
29
around and
days
deal it
ago.
to the champion, like to a
That's
champion
awesome.
that could stand to take that extra damage. That's still good.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's still crazy.
A little Googling around for this. I know I prematurely said it does it to everybody. No, it does it to the lowest health and then moves down the line. So there.
And so, like, the only thing then that you have to think about is that you can't get that bonus damage if you're pressing R while you're dead.
This
Right.
is Predator's also how you get 1 hits with Vigar ultimate now, because the extra 0.25 scaling on his ultimate when you have 1500 AP adds so much damage to your ult that you can again 1-hit
Oh,
people with Vigar ultimate. Like if I play Vigar, I always go Predator. That's like it makes so much sense just with the extra scaling and his endless scaling AP. It's like what else would you
Yeah.
go? You don't really care about the poke damage because you're just trying to farm anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
It's true.
Yeah, that's what I
Extra
said. Predator is
108.
awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
I love.
Fucking Predator.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say Predator mouths. Like,
That's
are
what
you
I'm saying.
kidding
Like,
me?
what do you
It's
actually
coming.
get out of sorcery? Out of from most champions that can't spam Airy really really well, or can't make the use of killing somebody with Comet. Nothing. So like Predator just makes sense overall because the Keystone is so much better than anything else you get. And what did I do yesterday? Oh, I did Presence of Mind Karthus, right? I did Presence of Mind as an ultimate hunter with the ult. Basically, I just had my ult on or off cooldown every 60 seconds at like rank 2. It was phenomenal.
They have nerfed so much of sorcery, and then also the evolution of the meta. It's to a point where it's like it's just not a very good tree anymore.
It's
Like you
pretty
could kind of
garbage.
justify it in the past because Gathering Storm, meant that no matter how long the game went on, you were getting more and more damage and everything. Games aren't going that long anymore. Like Gathering Storm is not breaking even that often, so Phase Rush is only good on a handful of champions, and then Airy and Comet are like 6 one way, half a dozen the other. Like it's just, and you will find selectively good runes in there for a lot of different champions, but as a whole, like the tree no longer looks super appealing to me anymore.
My problem with Airy and Comet is they are good for the very first piece of laning phase, and then after that, it feels like you don't have a keystone anymore. Unlike Predator, where you don't have it for the very first piece of laning phase, but then it works the rest of the game, and so that's like 20 minutes a game that it does more for you than what Airy and Comet do.
I kind of disagree. I think it does less notable damage, but I've gotten a lot of kills with it, Comet, just with that little extra damage. I think you might not notice it much, but over the course of the game, it still does a lot of damage. It's just not like in your face, like electrocute or something like that.
And if you're playing an enchanter, like Airy feels really good to have.
Sure,
You block
yeah.
a lot of damage, and just getting that like little bit of extra on whatever poke ability you have feels really good.
There's a difference when you're playing like bottom lane, right, where you can cue somebody with area and walk up and grab it again to be able to use it again. And mid lane, you don't generally get that as often.
Yeah, where you're often running away from it.
Right.
So many times I've like been versus a brand and his like passive is on me, and I think I'm gonna live, and then just randomly the commenter area will proc again because of his passive, and it just flies to me and I die. Like that's so tilting.
Yeah, one of the good things about Teemo is if he puts his poison on you, you get hit by Airy twice. It's incredibly. I know that's like he like is really running away quickly, but it's incredibly frustrating. I remember 2 instances where I got hit by Airy, I was backing, and I died to the second Airy proc. It's just stupid. Well, it's not stupid. I should have expected it, but still, it was real frustrating.
I really don't care for mana flow band anymore. Like before, it was cool. It was really fun. It was something you could play around. Now it's like, oh, hey, I get permanent mana, and then I get mana regen. Whoa, hooray!
Yeah, I found it odd that they changed that right before they did all those big mana changes. It's like now, like it feels like they almost did some of the mana changes overall balanced around you taking mana flow band, but I don't like taking mana flow band, and so
I get it. Mana flow band before was really overpowered, so it makes sense that they needed to do something to it. The problem is that they took what was actually a pretty fun non-keystone rune and they made it like really boring and uninteractive. Oh, I use a spell and I get mana. Wow, I can do that if I get a tier too. You know, like you just.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, okay, I just have to bide my time until I have mana flow band, and then I'm gonna use this ability, and I'm gonna get so much fucking mana back, and it's gonna feel great.
Just go take Scuttle Crab and get half your mana back.
Yeah.
Like if you have like 20 mana, but you had old mana flow band up, and you cast your ultimate with 100 mana, like not only do you have the mana for that, but you also get like a shit ton back.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, but it was crowding out everything else there. There was no. I mean, you wanted to take Ultimate Hat, and or there were times where you wanted to take Nullifying Orb, but it felt fucking bad because Mana Flow Band was so good.
Yeah.
So Wednesday, we're gonna wrap back around on Wednesday, and we're gonna do a whole rune podcast because I think Vrail had a really good idea. What was that? 2 weeks ago, Vrail, that we said we need to come back around and talk about runes and what's good, what's bad on each tree.
Yeah, I just feel like we haven't done a like actual rundown of runes probably since I don't know, since maybe I've been on the podcast. I don't remember ever doing it.
So, prepare for that, boys.
I imagine y'all did it a lot in preseason. I don't remember that.
There was a lot of rune discussion for like a month or something when they first, got released. But as a side topic, why do you have 6-packs on your bed? For real?
I do. Oh, those are actually coffee.
Wait.
I ordered them online.
They're coffee, and you gotta come on, turn around. You gotta pull one over here. I gotta see what's going on here because
it's literally just
what
coffee.
are you doing back
No. You gotta pull it up here and put it in the front of me. I gotta see this shit. All right, I'm sorry for the podcast listeners. Vrail, his bed is right behind him, and he has. If you're used to any of the new 6, I'll have to explain it to you. So he's literally got coffee in a can. For those of you podcast listeners out there, I'm sure you guys have purchased craft beer recently, and craft beer now comes in, like the green, blue, red, whatever it is.
My brother said they're
stuff.
good. I had to try them.
Multicolored plastic holders that are at least safer for the fish and other wildlife out there, for when the littering happens. I'm sure they're no more environmentally friendly otherwise, but you can recycle them and all that type of stuff.
So yeah, Vrail's got those, those little they snap into the top, but it's coffee. It legitimately looks like beer on his bed, but it's coffee in a can that looks like beer. And I'm sorry, I had to ask him because I've seen it the entire podcast and I've been trying to find the right perfect moment.
We're trying to find the way to show the name. My brother said they were good, so I tried them.
Medrinas.
This beer was getting warm.
I know, right? I was getting upset back there. I'm like, dude, will you just? I'm like getting twitchy. He's got beer in his bed. I'm like, he's not.
No, they just got here. I need to go put them in the refrigerator.
All right. Well, I'm going to call it there. We have another topic of discussion, but we'll hit that one next week or Wednesday. But I do want to talk about runes that day. I think that's where we end this. By the way, happy Snapping Day. If you've been following, Thanos did nothing wrong. Otherwise, if you're like Vrail and know nothing about Infinity
don't say
Wars,
anything.
All
right, I'm leaving. Bye.
I can't say anything else. But happy he left. Happy Snapping Day, friends. Happy Snapping Day. I hope all of your accounts are saved. Other than that, Vrail's back. Guys, that's enough for the Trinity Force podcast for this week. We will see you all on Wednesday. Everyone have a good night. Peace.
Goodbye.
Later.
Later.
See ya.